Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Orthocell Limited webinar. My name is Hayley Charters and I'll host today's session. It's an absolute pleasure to see so many of Orthocell's valued investors and supporters on the line today. Thank you for giving up your time. Shortly, Orthocell CEO and MD Paul Anderson will provide an update from the company at a truly exciting stage of its clinical and commercial development. Paul will be addressing recent investor inquiries within his presentation today. Should you wish to ask a question following the session, please email general@orthocell.com. That again is general@orthocell.com. Please welcome Paul.
Thanks, Hayley. Thanks very much for the introduction, and thanks everyone for their participation today. Great to have everybody on board and to hear a latest update. And today's presentation is really focused on Remplir and a global expansion update to providing us with a pathway through to the US, which is a really important market for us, as we all know. Just a disclaimer. So I just wanted to give a brief about Orthocell at a glance. We are an Australian medical device company with a growing international revenue, and a US market clearance of our breakthrough nerve repair device is pending. I'm going to talk about that as we go through the presentation. I think it's fair to say that we have best-in-class products that are now approved in 9 international jurisdictions. Our first product to market, Striate Plus, has already received FDA clearance. It's approved in the UK, EU, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and have a very active jurisdictional approach with that with our partner BioHorizons. Importantly, Remplir, our nerve repair device, is approved in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. And as we all know, we're in the process of applying for 510(k) clearance, which we're really excited about that progress. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation. Really important to note that we manufacture our own products. We own our manufacturing margin, we own our scientific narrative, and we own our product. And I think it's really an interesting point that we've been challenged of late by a lot of the geopolitical activities that have been going on in the world, particularly with the Trump and the US. And so the question about tariffs and manufacturing come up. We really are very confident that we're going to be in a tariff-free zone. We know that we have great defence ties with the US. We know that we have a trade deficit to the US. And we know that there's deep defence links through AUKUS and these other mechanisms. So we believe that, that we're looking very good to avoid any tariffs that may be applied. And it's important to note that no tariffs have been applied as yet into the Australian marketplace by the US government. What's really exciting about this company is that we're now in a strong validatory process. We've got growing revenue. We've had 3 consecutive quarters of record revenue, reporting 2.2 million in our last December quarter, which is a really important indicator that we're getting clinical uptake of this technology here in Australia and New Zealand as we lead into the US marketplace. We know that these are very large markets. We also know that there's unmet clinical needs within this market. And so that leaves Orthocell and Remplir ideally placed with a really strong balance sheet, with no debt, no royalties. We're a well-funded company that's retaining all its revenue benefits and maximising our cash flow. But what's really important here is that there's been some conjecture in the market in recent times around what the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, which is really active in the US at the moment, what effect has that had on the US FDA? What effect is that potentially having on people who have their applications pending? And so I'm delighted to inform that we are on track for our clearance, and we haven't changed our expectation of approval in late March and early April. We know that there's been quite a lot of conjecture in the market around layoffs within the FDA, and it's been super interesting to watch from afar. And that is that we saw, some 2,500 temporary staff at the FDA let go, and that was reported to the market, and I think caused a little bit of uncertainty as to, does that affect us? Will it affect, the length of time it takes to get approved in that market? Interestingly, what we saw reported yesterday was that a very large number of those staff that were let go not 10 days ago have now been re-employed by the FDA. And so, that's created some confusion, but it's given great comfort that these approval processes for medical devices such as ours are on track. Our interactions with the FDA have remained positive, and it's really important to note that our lead reviewer remains the same. And so we are still on target for that end of March, early April FDA clearance or notification from them. So we're excited about that scenario. What I think has been really exciting also for the company and investors has been, a very, very strong re-rate of the company, and with a market cap now over 300 million market cap, which is very satisfying and reflective of the great work that we've been doing, not just over the last year, but over the last 10 years. And so that's been a fantastic piece for us. We're very stable from a balance sheet perspective. We've got $32 million in the bank, which really enables us to focus on executing really effectively into the US marketplace. We've got a really solid share base now, holding base with founders and management 11, and a growing interest and investment from institutional investors. And so we couldn't be more delighted with the way that that's tracking. And what's really been helpful to drive that re-rate has been the fact that we've had 3 consecutive quarters of record revenue. And that's really enabled us to grow by 9% compounded CAGR over since our product launch in November 22, which is an outstanding effort. And our 3rd consecutive quarter of record revenue, reporting 2.21 million in the December quarter, up 9% on the 2.03 million achieved in the September quarter. So good, consistent growth, meaning that we have good, consistent surgical uptake and surgical use, not just new surgeons, but organic growth and reuse of our products by surgeons who are on board with the program. I think it's really important to focus on this slide also. In the last 2 years in the company, we've had a complete change of the board. We've had Mr. John van der Wielen come in as a chair, who's provided great stewardship and connectivity to the international market and local market. We've really formed the board to support our endeavours as we move forward. Dr. Ravi Thatani is an outstanding individual who has 30 years experience as a specialist working in the healthcare area, but most importantly, he was the former professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School and chief academic officer at America's largest trauma hospital, Mass General Brigham Hospital, and oversaw a 2.3 billion research expertise there. So it's important to note also that Ravi has been a consultant for the FDA over the last 15 years also. So Ravi's been super important in helping us navigate the FDA clearance process, to oversee and validate our approach to them. And so he's been a very, very important cog in this wheel as we move forward. The Honourable Kim Beazley, great geopolitical knowledge, deep defence knowledge, and a really important sector for us is defence as we move through into this US marketplace. So Kim has been a real powerhouse on the board, and as ex-ambassador to the US, has provided us with some deep insights into the geopolitical and political setup in the US. So that's been really invaluable. It's been tremendous to have Professor Fiona Wood, ex-Australian of the Year, on our board. A deep understanding of our technologies, a deep understanding of this space as a plastic reconstructive surgeon, and also a deep understanding of the entrepreneurial pathway that's required as the founding member of Avita Medical and now a NASDAQ-listed company. So fantastic to have her on board. So this board now provides me with the impetus that's required to drive into this US market. So we're delighted to have that sophisticated, knowledgeable, and dedicated board to help us in this next phase. I want to talk a little bit about our manufacturing process and remind all on the call today that our first product to market was a product called Striate Plus, and we partnered with a company called BioHorizons with that product, who paid $23 million upfront for an exclusive global license agreement. And so we were able to take this product through the FDA process, and then partner with the entry into the market, and then partner with a large global partner. So a really important track record and validation of what we're doing here. And it's important to note that these products come from the same stable. So the fact that we've had Striate Plus approved by the FDA gives us great confidence as we move forward into the FDA process for our nerve repair product, Rempler. So first product in market for bone, second product in market in Australia, New Zealand and Singapore, most recently for Rempler, and driving forward in that US FDA clearance process as we speak. And then a third product that's coming up, we have submitted out for approval in the Australian TGA with our SmartGraft product. And so this is an absolutely equally as exciting product in tendon repair, and so a really exciting portfolio of products in bone, nerve and tendon. We have a really unique product. We own our manufacturing process. We own our scientific narrative. And as a result of that, we've been able to develop products that are absolutely fit for purpose in both bone, nerve and tendon approaches. This product is absolutely pure in its presentation. Our manufacturing process decellularizes and what we call absolute collagen. It's one of the only products on the market that actually mimics the human collagen bundle size. Without getting too technical, it mimics human collagen. And what's really important for everybody today on the call to note, and others internationally, is that we've implanted this device over 70,000 times internationally so far. So this is a very safe product. This is a very efficacious product, and now driving into these really new exciting markets like the US. So let's talk a little bit about Rempler, that's really redefining nerve repair in the market. Certainly in Australia, we're seeing a fantastic uptake and fantastic clinician feedback. What we do know as a community is that increasingly there's a lot of data both generated by ourselves and from others in the market that suturing two nerves together, which is the traditional way and the most common way of doing this currently, is probably not such a good idea. We know that those sutures cause significant areas of scar tissue within the nerve. So instead of having a nice clear pathway for the actions to go across, they run into this scar tissue. And what happens when you get scar tissue is you get inconsistent and unpredictable clinical outcomes, which is very frustrating to the patient and very frustrating to the surgeon. And so we've seen companies come along that have developed products that are trying to get around this problem. But what we've seen is companies not developing their own product, but just sourcing generic products off the market from other companies such as Collagen Matrix. And so we're seeing a plethora of these companies come on board that aren't really fit for purpose. Axogen has run into some problems in the US with what we would describe as a Generation 1 product. And similarly, a product and a company here in Australia called Renerve, which doesn't own their product. They source it from a Dutch company. They don't own their narrative, and they don't really have any clinical data, or they don't have any clinical data. So a long way behind where we are as a company. So we found ourselves in a position with a product that was designed specifically for nerve repair and designed specifically to mimic the outside edge of the nerve called the epineurium. So we have a product that has exceptional handling characteristics. And the moment I put this and we put this into a surgeon's hands, the room goes quiet. They focus in on the product and they're amazed at the handling qualities, the biomechanical properties, the strength, the compliancy, and the ability for them to use this to wrap around a nerve to negate or reduce the number of sutures. So outstanding handling qualities. It reduces or negates the use of sutures. It's the only product in the world today that is designed to mimic the outside edge of the nerve called the epineurium, a very important part of our scientific narrative, which returns nerves to its pre-injured states. And what that does is provides a consistent and predictable clinical outcomes. It shortens the procedure time and improves the outcomes for patients and surgeons. And these are fantastic outcomes, not just for the surgeon, the patient, but also from a cost and economics perspective for this product in general. So Rempler is one of the only devices in the market that can be used for 3 different indications. And we're currently indicated for the use of peripheral nerve repair in Australia in particular, and moving into the US, that enables us to connect 2 nerves together using Rempler to wrap around to reduce or negate sutures. We also use it to protect nerves that have been damaged and are susceptible to scar tissue, where we wrap our product around it, which enables the nerve to glide. It inhibits adhesions, which are really important clinical factors when you're talking about nerve healing. So we can connect, we can protect. And then the third indication is in amputees, where we have an amputated limb, and there's nerves left jangling on the end of that limb, which cause neuroma and painful symptoms as a result of that, meaning that they get a lot of pain, a lot of opioid use to control that pain, and an inability to fit their prosthesis effectively. And so there's over 500 amputations performed in the US per day. And so this is an incredible opportunity for us to connect nerves together, to protect nerves, and to indeed cap nerves with this really unique an interesting product called Remplia. This product has been founded upon an outstanding scientific narrative, which has been built over the last 8 years in particular. That scientific narrative has led to a very sophisticated clinical study that we've performed here in Australia. The grey area here represents an inability to use the arm or leg. It represents paralysis. And what we were able to show in our clinical data was an 85% recovery of these nerves, enabling us to see consistent and predictable return of nerve function following this surgery. And Remplia is increasing the success rate and the efficiency of nerve transfer surgery. And what's been really pivotal and really important about the development of this technology here in Australia and the introduction of it into the Australian marketplace first is that we've been able to see a fantastic uptake of our product by clinicians in this country. And we've also seen a fantastic feedback mechanism where we've been able to validate our technology, validate the messaging. And so we can now take that, extract it, and then apply it into the US marketplace. And we've seen a really spectacular product launch here in Australia with our partners, Device Technologies. We now have over 180 orthopedic and plastic reconstructive surgeons in over 130 hospitals using our product, which has been a fantastic outcome. And when I go into the US and I talk to US surgeons, they all to a T ask me, is this product approved in your home country? Do you have uptake of this product in your home country? And so delighted to be able to report that we've had fantastic growth in our revenue, fantastic growth in our uptake, and fantastic growth, organic growth in the use of this technology through surgeon-to-surgeon interaction, which means that this product works, it works in their hands, and it works consistently. And so what are the adoption drivers that we see? It enables less suturing. It creates an optimal healing environment, a microenvironment that facilitates a free gliding within the repair site during the critical healing period. And so these are all key pivotal outcomes that provide us with the ability to grow this product, not just in the Australian market, but obviously focused into that US FDA process. And so where are we at with this FDA process? We've reported to the market before Christmas that we successfully completed our 510K regulatory study. We met all of our endpoints, providing key data that's then required to support our marketing submission to the US FDA. We've had positive interactions with the FDA. We've been able to use effectively our board members to support and validate that submission is of the highest quality. And the feedback has been very, very positive from the FDA. So we remain confident that we're on target for FDA 510K clearance in late March and early April for this really exciting product. We also know that these are extremely exciting markets that we're looking to penetrate into. Over 700,000 peripheral nerve repairs performed in the US per year, and still the majority of those surgeries are performed using sutures. So we know that there's an incredible and unique opportunity for this product to not just take market share from the market leader Oxygen and others in the marketplace, but this huge market here of suturing, which really provides some fantastic upside for us. As a result of our positive interactions with the FDA, as a result of our fantastic product launch here in the Australian marketplace and into Singapore and New Zealand, we've appointed our first two US-based executives, John Walker and Philip Edmondson. Both bring 8 and 9 years experience with Oxygen, one of the key players. So both of these guys bring really important domain knowledge with them. Both of these individuals and professionals bring fantastic connections to the key opinion leader market. and they bring fantastic connections through to the centres of excellence. So in combination with our outstanding narrative, in combination with the work that we've been doing with Washington University and others in the American marketplace, we feel very confident about having these two gentlemen bring domain knowledge and lead the infrastructure development of our approach into the market as we get through our FDA clearance in the end of March, early April. And so we do also know that there's a number of different integers here that are important. It's not just about your clinical data. It's not just about your clearance. It's not just about your infrastructure. It's about a whole combination of pieces. It's about scaling your organisation, making sure you have the capacity to manufacture. We have that. It's about having a successful US approval process, and we're well down the track to achieving that. It's about having really important advocates on your behalf, both locally here in Australia, but internationally in the UK and in particular in the US, and we have that. We have an incredible scientific narrative, which is ours. We own the narrative. We've developed the narrative specifically for nerve repair. It's not a retrofitted product. It's not a product that we thought, let's take it from somewhere else and apply it to nerves. This is a purposely designed product with an outstanding scientific narrative that has now been validated locally here in Australia, into Singapore, and now increasingly in the US. And of course, we have a data package to support that, which is really important for publishing in a peer review way to validate externally to the company what we're doing. And of course, once you get approvals in market and clearances in market, you need to be able to sell the product. So you need to be able to position it in a positioning strategy, pricing strategies, segmentations. And so we're well down the track now of building our US team, engaging with distributors, and establishing our key accounts, which leaves us in a really good position as we move forward into these regulatory clearances, not just in the US, but also internationally. But I want to ensure that everyone understands the strategy here, and that is that the US is the largest healthcare market in the world. That's the biggest opportunity for us, and we are laser focused on delivering this product into the US marketplace with US FDA clearance imminent. But it's also really important for us to have a commercial footprint. When we're talking to partners, when we're engaging internationally, an international footprint is a really important global point for us as a company. And so we continue to grow our global footprint through we've submitted into Canada. Thailand has a huge incidence of nerve repairs, and I actually have very, very well-respected clinicians who have pioneered nerve transfer and other really unique techniques in the Thai marketplace. So it's an important market, although it might not at first glance appear so. The EU, of course, must not be forgotten, and we're looking at a submission at the end of Q2 of this year, and really confident about that. And we've also seen some changes in the UK where they're now looking to recognise, or are recognising, FDA approvals and TGA approvals to help circumvent their Brexit withdrawal and subsequent lack of regulatory approval processes. So EU and the UK are very strong focus for us. And also Brazil, which has a very, very large middle class, a sophisticated medical system there, which also has a lot of key opinion leaders from nerve repair. So laser focused on the US, but also looking at the same time to be ahead of the game to make sure that we have a global focus and a global network of countries that we can get accessibility to. And so when you combine all of these markets together, we have a $3.5 billion total addressable market. And so it's not unreasonable for us to aim to have a 20% market share, given the key opinion leaders that we have advocating for us, the scientific narrative that really backs up what we're doing, the fantastic organic growth, and the wonderful regulatory pathway processes that we've engaged on and are engaging in. Then it's not hard to see us as a market leader in peripheral nerve repair, getting access to these $3.5 billion markets. So a really important period for us. Upcoming catalysts, we've spoken, and I think I've spoken at length about our US FDA clearance, on target and unchanged in our expectation there. We're driving forward with our appointment of our sales team to really help us drive our hybrid model of direct and distributor sales. And as a consequence, we're active in appointing US distributors. And we're really prepared and preparing ourselves for first sales shortly after our US 510K clearance has come through. We continue with, as I mentioned, with EU, UK, and Brazilian submissions. And also important to note that our partner by Horizons for Australia Plus is going extremely well. We have Colombia submissions lodged, Germany, Austria, Switzerland market launch, and Singapore product registration on the horizon, as is the Brazilian registration. So what does that mean as a company? That means that we're strongly at a commercial phase, pushing into international markets, having validated our products locally. We now know, validated externally and internally, that we have best-in-class products for our 3 product portfolios in bone, nerve, and tendon repair. Incredible board with an incredible skill set that's designed to support us for this next really important phase. We've got a really strong balance sheet, 32.7 million cash in the bank, a strengthened register, no royalties, no liabilities, and US approval of our breakthrough nerve repair device on the horizons. And so we see lots of near-term value drivers, and in particular, we're excited about this 510K application process. We're delighted that our lead reviewer remains active and involved in this process, and we're really confident that March-April 25 clearance is going to be coming through. So listen, thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much for listening today, and I look forward to talking further. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that insightful presentation, Paul, and thank you to our valued shareholders and supporters for joining us on the line today. That now concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you very much.